Winter in a Russian village doesn't arrive suddenly. It doesn't sweep in one day. It creeps, slowly and deliberately, like an old beast that knows the land better than the people who live there. At first, it is subtle. Grass stiffens and crunches underfoot, breath becomes visible, and the sky in the evenings grows heavy and low. Then come the first snowfalls, timid, uneven, as if winter itself is unsure it has the right to stay. But the villagers know, once snow falls, it never leaves entirely. It merely retreats, only to return stronger. This village was far from main roads, where the asphalt ended abruptly and only an old dirt track remained, riddled with ruts and potholes. In summer, it was passable, though the ride would rattle your bones, and in winter, it vanished under thick drifts. The houses were old, darkened by time, with sagging roofs and windows sealed with plastic sheets or stuffed with rags for the season. Most fences had rotted away or been taken apart for firewood. When winter fully arrived, the village seemed to shrink. People stayed inside, conserving strength, warmth, and wood. Everyone understood that winter here was not merely a season, but a test. And the older the village grew, the fewer remained who could survive its challenge without help. Snow piled high, burying paths that had once led to neighbors' homes. If you didn't trudge them in the morning, by evening the snow could reach your waist. Wind blew freely through thinning forests, no longer protecting homes from blizzards. On these days, it felt as though even the earth groaned under the cold. In one house lived an elderly woman, Maria Ivanovna. She was well into her 70s, her exact age forgotten. Her husband had died long ago, her children had left for the city in the 90s and seldom returned. During winter, she remained alone. Her home stood at the edge of the village, near the forest, and cold reached it first. The walls were thin, the stove old, and the chimney often clogged with soot. She had to clean it herself, despite aching joints and trembling hands. Every winter morning began the same way. She woke before dawn, because daylight was brief and warmth had to be maintained constantly. She pulled on felt boots, a thick coat, tied a scarf around her head, and went to the stove. The house was frigid, so cold her breath seemed foreign. She opened the stove, added firewood, coaxed the flames to life. If the fire refused, she sat before it, adding twigs patiently until it began to live. Firewood was the village's most precious resource. They prepared it in summer, yet it always seemed insufficient. Every stack was counted mentally, every handful cherished. In especially harsh winters, they dismantled old sheds, fences, even furniture to keep warm. Villagers still remembered the winter when temperatures plunged below 40 degrees, and people burned anything combustible to survive. Once the stove glowed, Maria Ivanovna set the kettle on and sat on a small stool, warming her hands. Outside, the night was dark, snow reflecting only the faint moonlight. The village appeared dead, only the occasional creak of a roof or groan of a tree broke the silence. Other villagers lived similar lives. Only a few elderly people and a couple of families remained. The youth had left for education or work, rarely returning. For them, winter was a childhood memory, harsh but distant. For those who stayed, it was real. Isolation hit hardest during storms. Phone lines went down, electricity failed, sometimes for days. Then the village existed only by the stove's fire and the quiet. Evenings were spent by candlelight or kerosene lamps, listening to the wind howl beyond the walls. Sometimes a vehicle came, an old Niva from the district center, bringing supplies. Mail, medicine, it was an event. People emerged from their homes despite the cold, exchanged news. If the snow was deep, everyone helped dig the vehicle out. If the blizzard raged, the visit might be cancelled, and they waited a week or more. Winter brought illness, colds, inflammations, flare-ups of old ailments. Calling a doctor was almost impossible. Distance, roads, weather. People treated themselves with herbs, old remedies, neighborly advice. Sometimes it worked, sometimes not. Occasionally, someone was found too late, and winter claimed another life. But winter was also beautiful. In the mornings, frost coated the trees, turning the world silent and white, as if frozen in time. Snow crunched loudly beneath boots, echoing for miles. The sky was high and transparent, stars bright in ways cities never see. Children who remained found joy in winter. They sled down hills, built snowmen, threw snowballs. Their laughter, rare and precious, was the heartbeat of a quiet village. In those moments, it felt as though life persisted. Still, winter tested everyone. It measured the warmth in homes, the strength in people. It forgave no mistakes. Doors left open cooled a house. Firewood counted insufficiently left families shivering. One delayed step outside could be buried in snow. On the coldest days, the village almost froze completely. People moved slowly, carefully. Conversations were brief, words measured, as if conserving energy. Maria Ivanovna often remembered past winters, when the village was alive, houses lit, children running through streets, evenings filled with voices and songs. Then, winter was cold but not cruel. There were more hands, more life. Now each home was an island in a sea of snow. Sometimes she looked at old photographs by lamplight. Young faces, smiles, holiday tables. Winter was just a backdrop then, not the main force. She sighed, put the photos away, and gazed at the snowstorm outside. By the end of winter, resources ran low. Firewood, food, strength, all scarce. Days grew slightly longer, and that small increase of sunlight felt monumental. Snow became heavy and slushy, hinting at spring. Even then, winter could return suddenly, a frost biting through the soft thaw. The village would once again bend beneath its weight. When true spring finally came, people stepped outside to watch water trickle through ditches, snow melting to reveal the ground. Relief was sweet, but with it came awareness: winter would return. Preparation, counting firewood, bracing for survival, it would begin anew. Winter in a Russian village is no fairy tale. It is relentless, exhausting survival, day after day, night after night. It is silence in which one can hear their own breath. It is cold that teaches the value of warmth. It is harsh reality, leaving humans alone with nature and themselves. Only those who have endured it can truly understand its meaning.